The outcome of a court case last week is something you need to take note of if you own a dog. The owner of 3 dogs who attacked a gardener and refuse collector on the street is now liable to pay them damages. The dog owner said an intruder had probably set the dogs free, but the Supreme Court of Appeal has agreed with them. Dr. Delano from Linde is a Senior Lecturer at the Faculty of Law in Northwest University. He joins us now for more on this. Dr. van der Linde, good evening to you. I mean, this is a very interesting story. It's the kind of story that in a way gets to the heart of who's responsible for what. What does it mean if your dog gets out and bites someone?
Good afternoon, Stephen. Well, there's a well-established principle called actu de pauperie, which means that the owner of a domesticated or domestic animal can be held liable for any damage caused by that animal. And the owner doesn't even have to be at fault in any way. The animal doesn't have to be encouraged by the owner to attack someone. Merely that relationship of ownership creates liability. And it's called strict liability or no-fault liability, in that there is literally no fault on behalf of the owner.
2.4 million rand is what these 2 people asked for. And you can imagine how a bad dog attack 3 dogs can change your life, change the course of your life. It's a large amount of money. Are we going to see more cases like this?
This was a particular egregious attack. I believe that one of the victims had to have their arm amputated, and when calculating damages, you calculate not only the harm or loss you suffered, so medical expenses, pain and suffering and all that, but also future losses you might suffer. So even if someone had to have physical therapy in the future, that could also be claimed for any potential loss of income in the future. But I do believe most cases are not of such a serious or egregious nature to rise to that amount, but I'm sure now that the public is more aware of it, that maybe more cases like this might come to the front.
In these cases, the dogs were not provoked, so they got out of the property, as I understand it, and they attacked. Now, there's a lot of CCTV camera around nowadays. People are going to be able to, we're going to see film footage of these kinds of things in the future. Is there any law or judgment yet on what happens if someone provokes an attack? And I mean, no one should do that. Strange things do happen. I think we might have seen it in other countries. I mean, is there any law on that yet?
Yes, definitely, Stephen. If you use a dog as an instrument to commit a crime, for example, if you tell Fluffy to attack your enemy, you are using the dog essentially as an instrument or a weapon, just like you would use a knife or a gun. And you would still be liable then for the same, criminally liable for assault potentially, and also for damages for causing trauma, emotional shock, or medical expenses. So yes, if you instruct your dog as well, you are just using them as an instrument to commit a crime, or in that case, cause harm.
And if the person who's attacked by the dog turns out to have provoked the dog, shouted at them, screamed at them, poked them with a stick, something like that, what happens then? Is there any law on that yet?
Yes, if you somehow contributed to or antagonized the animal, that could exclude liability for the owner, or if, the dog should have also acted outside of his general nature, uncharacteristically. So merely a dog acting like a dog will not attract liability. So if you're petting a dog and he's just lightly nibbling on you, that's still a dog acting within his nature. But if you are usually somewhere where you shouldn't be, that would, or trespassing on property, that could also exclude liability for the owner, because you are somewhere where you're not.
Doctor, I cannot wait for the constitutional judgment on the definition of a dog acting like a dog and within its nature. It's going to be fascinating when it comes. This is all going to feed. There's a massive fight in some suburbs, some urban spaces in particular, about whether you have to walk your dog on a leash. Now, there's signs in all public parks that saying you have to. Bylaws usually say you have to. We all know people who don't do that. If you walk your dog, the dog's not on a leash, and then attack someone, you're probably going to have to pay after this ruling, right?
Yeah, if you are because of your relationship with the dog of ownership, basically you have to take responsibility of a potentially harmful object. So yes, if your dog is not on a leash and it causes harm to someone on the street, just walking past the dog, like the victims in this case, then yes, it could attract liability. So you have to take responsibility over a potentially harmful object, and there's no need for you to provoke the dog or for the dog to be provoked. All that's needed is for it to have attacked you, acted outside of its nature in some fashion, and caused harm and damages. And there, of course, for you to be the owner of the dog as well.
Dr. Delano van der Linde, I'm absolutely certain it won't be the last court case on this. Thank you very much indeed. A Senior Lecturer at the Faculty of Law at the University of North West.